Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy Gerald, and it is Friday, the 10th of May, 2017. How is everybody doing? You are on the backside of your work week. I hope wherever you are well. Of course, grounding your feet, speaking your truth, but most importantly, placing Him first in all that you do. Why? Because your life is priceless. That's right. I'm going to continue to send that sentiment to someone. I know here in Virginia Beach, it's overcast and dreary. We've been having a lot of rain, but they said that for Sunday, Mother's Day, it's supposed to be sunny. And with that being said, I'm going to throw this out to all the mothers, spiritual, biological, and emotional. For those who are giving of themselves, showing compassion, giving wisdom and instruction for our greatest resource ever. That's our children. You might not be the one that birthed that child, but you took on the responsibility of someone who was unable. You may have been that shoulder, that mentor, that guidance in the intended time and moment. Just showing honor and praise to you. And I also know that on the flip side, there are those that may feel a certain kind of way of what this commemorative day represents, because maybe by chance, your story may have been that your mother, your guardian, your custodian may have not been what that title exists. Come on over here and sit down. Hold on a minute. You know Mr. Man's right here. He's walking around. There he is. He always waits till I'm on the camera. Then he wants to act up like a little, well, he's a child. He just got fur. Go on over there and lay down. Lay down. Lay it down. Thank you. So y'all, see, look here. See, y'all, sit there. Look at him, right? Yeah. Yeah. See how he? Yeah. Just waiting. But that's all right. That's okay. Lay on down. I'm gonna put you in the kennel. You wanna go in your kennel? Yeah, we're gonna put him in the kennel because he ain't trying to hear what I got to say. Come on. All right, lay on there. All right, lay down. All right. Yeah, some of y'all might be feeling a certain kind of way because the illustration or what you envisioned inside you of what mother means has not been the case. It may have been a trigger of pain, disappointment, embarrassment. You do understand that these are all illustrations for your wisdom, because not everybody earns the title, because not everybody can deem the responsibility that it comes with, because mother, just as father, are nothing but terms of unconditional love. But look at the world that we're in. Hold on a minute, y'all, because he nutting up. Yeah, you knew I was coming to get you, didn't you? Needless to say, some of y'all, if y'all had a remote in your life, you would fast forward forget the pain. And what a lot of people don't understand is your greatest lessons of just being a human being are fostered by those who have come before you, or what lack thereof was not shown. And unfortunately, if the cycle is not broken, the cycle becomes a behavior. The behavior becomes an underlining action and regret. But we can change all that if we just acknowledge what is present, but have the fortitude to turn the direction. Because one thing is undeniably true. You only have one mother. You have one father. And without them, you would not exist. That's why there are two sides of you. How do you think that came to be? 23 chromosomes came from your father, 23 chromosomes came from your mom. But they're going off of, or their example is the knowledge that was passed from their development. How about what they weren't shown? Now let's add the social aspect of it, because 2017 society has not been so liberated. But with that liberation, there's been a lot of things not questioned and condoned, only to see down the road of your life things that you are not prepared for, things that will require certain mentality to navigate through. Nobody wakes up and say, well, you know, my goal in life is to be that drug addict. No one wakes up when they're young and say, well, my life goal is to be that convict. How about that prostitute? How about that person that is living a multiple life? But it exists. That's why secrets are nothing but truth without courage to stand upon it. But you know, as we progress through life, we find ourselves, instead of challenging what is being presented, we go with the flow. We do not see our individuality. We do not see the value of what makes us the exception to the rule. I know there's somebody right now said, well, Gerald, okay, that's kind of doom and gloom. And, you know, I was all feeling the old Mother's Day shout out, you know. Well, what I want you to understand, you do understand there are going to be plenty of imposters running around trying to benefit off of works not done. Oh, yeah, you're going to see them in church. You're going to see them out and about strutting like little peacocks, knowing they don't even deserve the right to lift their heads up, because they're only going off of what was taught in their development. Some of us know that is a generational curse. And some of us in the back of your mind, learn how to compartmentalize your pain and balance that with your logic. And what is logic? It is experience used as a tool to navigate your mortality. And let's be truthful, family, because you guys are family. Y'all know, either directly or indirectly, some of y'all are not built for this. Some of y'all are terrified of the results of what makes your life its reality. But the truth of the matter is, it don't have to be. You hear people sometimes say, stop being a dreamer, and because that's not real. It can be real if you choose to believe in it and choose to put effort behind it, because what is faith? Faith is believing in something you can't see. And isn't it important to walk by faith, not by sight? But we choose to walk by sight, and faith ain't there, but are surprised the outcome that comes with trusting this. How about trusting that? You do understand this is the most attacked part of you. And if you don't have the foundation first to see your value of your life, we ain't even talking about your legacy. Just being. You do know that everything that's built upon that, or everything that you possess, will not have the right foundation to last. Who am I talking to? That is why it's so important, family, that no matter where you're going, no matter what your present circumstance may be, you may be in a position where everything's great. But that doesn't give you the right to take life for granted, because the devil is that line in the brush. And let me reach you at your lowest level. The devil is the one that's waiting to catch you slipping. He will always use your desires against you, just as he knows what you fear. We also know that it is not until that time that you forge that connection with God that you will understand what living is about. You will understand what loving is about, because that will be the first time that you understand what intimacy is. They say that the words of a stranger are just as impactful as the words of a child. So, well, how is it the words of a stranger have impact like the words of a child? Because both of them are pure. They don't know your background. They only go off of what they see in that moment. So if you don't like what is being projected in your life, why won't you have the courage to identify what is present, and then have the courage to change it? You realize how many people want the best life but don't want to invest in it? How do you expect your life to turn out how you dream it, which dreaming is nothing but a physical example of manifestation, if you don't put effort in there? which is contradictory because guess what? What did he ask for? I just need faith of a mustard seed. You realize how small a mustard seed is? It's like the head of a pin. So if you're not willing to give of that, do you actually think you're going to reap the benefits of what you need? It actually sets up the tone of your challenges. Because, you know, as I mentioned before, that's how the devil do. It's like football. You may send your prayers out, and God hears them. Doesn't mean he's going to respond. A lot of times, he waits. And haven't you realized a lot of those times where disappointment comes, you do your greatest thought process? After you go through the 7 degrees of your emotions, yeah, because we all do that. You get frustrated, you act out, you get stubborn, then you want to get spiteful, then you get fearful, then you get to that place where you're within yourself. That's the real you. That little boy and that little girl that lives inside you. You do understand you are the same person you were when you were 5 years old. Only thing's different is your body has aged because of the exposure to the atmosphere, and you have gained more access, which means responsibility. That's why you have 60 and 70-year-olds acting like they 12. Oh, they just crazy. No, they just broken. But they don't have the courage or energy. They've got plenty of energy to turn up. They always turn up where they don't want to be, but won't give themselves 1% effort to turn in themselves. Who am I talking to? That's why it's so easy. You always see people got plenty of energy to be toxic, plenty of energy to critique, plenty of energy to be destructive. But when it comes to being positive or truthful, they're never around. Isn't that kind of ironic? You got energy to disrespect yourself. You got energy to put yourself in harm's way. You got energy not to take accountability for what matters most, but won't give yourself what you rightfully need. But yet you will put energy to have a 5-cent comment. You do understand, family. That's why society has used that term trolls. And trolls are, unfortunately, those who lack self-worth, and they have very very low self-esteem. And that's why you have shows like Catfish, because these people take a false position But when placed with the original, oh no, they won't speak their truth. They run from it. And sometimes truth is represented by just someone looking back. You know, my mom once told me, um, she said, you know, God has a way of showing you truth when you don't want to see it, even in the face of a child. And I didn't understand it, but it was true because you see it play out all the time with all these fragmented families. You always see the illustration of the illegitimate father or the promiscuous mother. But you never hear someone say, how did you get there? Why did you make that choice? Why did you feel that option was better than the option you possess? Because the truth of the matter is, all you're going to get is excuses. And excuses is nothing but fear. And what is fear? Fear is finally everything's a reality. The reality is this person has been broken for a extreme long time. And what goes for that? It is a perpetual environment to fester within their own mindset. Think about it. If people would be truthful with themselves first, you realize how many drug dealers would be out of business. You realize how many liquor stores would be gone. You realize how many people would not be in cemeteries today. I'll flip it. You realize how many people would actually be living the life that they rightfully deserve because they would see the fortitude and the value of themselves. There are people that make money off of your fear, ladies and gentlemen. There are people that make money off of your insecurities. Think about it, queens. If you just took a second, when you look in that reflection to that little girl and told her how beautiful you are, first of all, your bank account would be pretty nice. Do you realize women spend over, what did they say? $500 million in the cosmetic business. That's great if you got stock in it. Because, and I had to learn this late. Kings, listen up. Did you know that there's a great deal of women, when she gets dolled up, she ain't doing it for you. She's doing it to facilitate her self-esteem to fit in with the populace. That's why you may have seen this before. You're out and about with your significant other, and a woman happens to pass. What you don't know is she's already scanned that woman down from head to toe within less than 5 seconds. Oh, yeah. And that is to take stock on what makes this woman set apart from the masses. But little do you know what sets every person apart from everybody is this. In conjunction with this. Because see, God made you perfect. And until you can come to that understanding that you were made perfect, can you see how fragile your life is? But as long as you choose to take the low road, the status quo, birds of a feather flock together, guess what? You know who's benefiting from that? Everybody else but you. And I'm gonna put this in a different perspective because I heard this not even 30 minutes before I cut this on. This is actually what made me want to put this out. Millennials, you better listen up. The Attorney General just had a press conference and has pretty much proposed that they are going to make stiffer and longer incarceration periods. So you get locked up if you want to. Don't think about rehabilitation. Don't think about that because they are going to use you as free labor. Because let's be honest. Some of y'all might not realize this, but a lot of your goods and services that you find in your department stores come from incarceration facilities. And here's something you don't know. You may do. Some of your well-known celebrities, athletic as well as in the arts, make hand over dollar because of that, because they've invested in the incarceration facility instead of our children, which is sad. All in the guise of this. You're hearing the administration, President Trump's administration cabinet. They are pushing to lift the bar when it comes to education. You're hearing more about STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So guess what? While you laughing, falling asleep in class, or choose not to go to school, or just bottom line, do not see value in your education, just know they see value in your physicality because they know in a matter of time, they're going to have a number on you. And they also know that there's a greater percentage that that's not even going to be their option because you won't be here because of choices made. We're talking your mortality. Now, here's something that people, I don't know why people have not connected. You do realize in the last 3 years, suicide rates have gone up. Overdose have gone up. And the only reason why they're promoting the whole focus on opioid overdose is because it's not in a hood near you because they don't have synthetic pharmaceutical companies in your hood. But these drugs are finding their way in your hood. Oh yeah, this ain't nothing different, because this was the same problem that was going on in the 50s, in the 60s. Some of y'all might know this as a psychedelic era. That might ring a bell for some of the baby boomers, because the baby boomers were the teenagers then. You had uh, the era of the hippie and the uh, wild child or era, and there was a lot of experimentation going on. But see, what a lot of people don't realize, what do you think? What do you think the effect was? Because some of those teenagers became parents, and some of those parents passed what was in their DNA into their children. But you don't hear the correlation of, well, Johnny got ADHD. Johnny got ADHD because you're not taking care of Johnny. You're not making time to make sure that Johnny is protected. Listen up, millennials. Being a good parent doesn't mean put the controller in Johnny's hand so he'll sit there. Why don't you put a book in Johnny's hand? Why don't you sit down with Johnny? Why don't you take the same energy when you're talking to Mr. Bill on the phone and put it in your babies? Because guess what? And a lot of people are terrified about this, but your baby's one day gonna take care of you. And it's a scientific fact that the average human being memory starts when they're 3, but is suppressed and only released through triggers of experience seen. So yes, our Attorney General did a speech not too long ago saying, hey, we ain't playing with y'all. We locking y'all up. Now here's the ironic part, because see, that's a byproduct when you take the rights and play with the rights of parents. Because a lot of people that sanctioned what was going on. Now, there's a difference between abuse and discipline. See, I'm a Generation Xer. I'm going to tell you what, I got my ass towed back. If there was a magazine that said Ass Whoop Digest, I would have been on the cover. I would have been on the cover. There's a new leather belt by Gerald Davis. Yeah. Shoot, my parents, they ain't play. Especially my daddy. My daddy, my sister and I, we used to call him the Black John Wayne. He was one of few words. But if he said something, you better catch it. I remember there was a time, for a long time, my dad, the relationship I had with my dad was, he came home, we had dinner, and he tore my ass up. I can say for at least 3 years, at least. But you know what? I love my dad. And I have a lot of respect for my dad because, and I say this with respect, my dad didn't have to take on the responsibility to raise another man's child. This ain't shade to my father. It's not shade. It's not. And it is what molded me to be the man I am. Oh, yes. I am a man, a spiritual one. I have manners. I say yes, ma'am, no, sir. Very much love my dad. My dad didn't see me drink for the first time until my third year of being in the military. I had so much respect for my dad because I did not want him to see me in a light that was not of his standard because I have so much respect for him. That's why it's very important, queens. You have to understand this. Right now, you may be in a difficult position with your children's father. That your children need that connection. They need it. Choosing to shield them from that will cause them to rebel or want more of what they don't have. That's why you hear the term, people want what they don't have. Then they're going to gravitate where they think compassion and love exist. Why do you think gangbangers exist? Why do you think pimps exist? Why do you think pedophiles exist? Those three is about manipulation. They know how to use their intellect to manipulate the paradigm. But you pay for what you do. That's why in the streets, you don't harm a child. You don't stifle their development. You don't do that. That's one thing you don't. You do not harm a child. Number one, because you don't know what that child remembers. And you see this play out all the time. Children wait. And it might be something really something. And all of a sudden, you're hearing about parents being murdered by their children. We had a situation here not even 8 months ago. There was 3 different times where that was the case. And these were individuals that came from great backgrounds. And from the people that did not know, they were like, I don't understand what, well, this person pretty much had the spoon in the mouth, and why did he shoot his parents and kill it? It happens. Doesn't make it right. That's why the greatest gift you could ever give a child is love, unconditional love. Because if you don't, you are setting that child up to be exploited. I was this morning, I was out, I was in my garage, and I had just so happened I have a radio out there, and it was on a Christian station. And I listened to this evangelist in his sermon, and he was talking about how it's important to expose your children to the book of Proverbs, and how rearing his children, they would, first of all, a house that prays together stays together. Remember that. And how he would want one of his, every night, one of the children would read a scripture and then give the interpretation of what that scripture meant. And, I was like, wow, that's a different approach. But then when I thought about it, you are setting that child up to see the value not only of their lives, but you are also placing the bricks that are going to make the foundation when they become parents. Because your greatest example and responsibility is as a parent is lead by example. So if you're reared in an environment where mama got boyfriends, there's always, this is Uncle Jim, this is Uncle Steve. And mom is not doing what she needs to do. How do you think that child's going to feel? That child's going to want to long to have that association with that other parent. And what happens? Sooner or later, that child will grow to a position where now they have a perception. And that perception could be totally wrong. But if you don't invest in that child, it's going to go off of what it's been exposed to. Excuse me. So now, fast forward. This generation, millennials, listen up. That's why it's important not to burn through your life. Because your life is being looked at as the junkie generation. I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. I'm saying what is being condoned. Listen to your media. What are they talking about? They're talking about exploiting you. They exploit you by you condoning and supporting their position. But it got a nice beat, dog. So did the Pied Piper. Y'all remember the story of the Pied Piper? And what was the Pied Piper? He was a pedophile. He led the children from their homes by a tune. How about our approach? How about an image? See, that's why I have so much love and support for you, my queens, because you can't have a family tree without the branches. The branches produce the fruit. Well, you are the branches of that tree. Your companion, your husband, should be your husband, is the roots. And they should go deep. And no matter what is being exposed to your life, you should be able to bend with it. When the winds of change come, you should be able to sustain. And here's the thing that's so amazing. Metaphorically, that is played out right before you. You don't even see it. What's going on these last 3 years? A whole lot of trees getting toppled down. You ever look at, when you look at the news and they show, yeah, this tree fell down on his house. Look at the roots. How is a tree that's over 200 feet in height got little nubby roots? That's crazy. Shouldn't a tree that tall to support the weight, shouldn't those roots run far and wide? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. When you were young, there'll be that oak tree or maple tree or whatever, and them roots would be everywhere. Some would be so strong. If the tree was by your driveway or carport or in the yard, you knew that tree wasn't going nowhere because the roots was so strong it went under your driveway and kept on going. Not today. Not today. And that's the same thing that's going on with our families. Family. You can sit up here and say, well, Papa was a Rolling Stone, Gerald. You know, what am I supposed to do? I can't make him stay there. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. That's why I'm going to always tell you, Queen, I'm going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. Doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter what he possesses. If he doesn't have a relationship with God first, he don't have a relationship with himself. And if he don't have a relationship with himself, he will never have one with you. You put God first in everything you do, and it'll be blessed. Doesn't mean you ain't got to earn it, but it'll be covered. It'll be protected. It won't be perverted, because that's what the devil wants you to do. The devil wants you, oh, don't worry about him. You know, yeah, he got his ways. He don't know nothing about no God. That's what I like. That's why when he go upside your head, he curse you out. Who am I talking to? But yet you let your self-esteem convince you that that's the best I'm going to ever have. Who told you that? But he give me everything I want. I don't have to be responsible for mine. He give me everything I want. As long as I'm his private dancer behind the sheets. That ain't love. That's lust. So that when that pain comes, he's not going to be there. He don't want you to complain because he got that receipt. Remember I bought you that bag? That bag, yeah, you know, that bag was, yeah, it looked good, but that bag was really for all your burdens so you can carry it. Bag lady. Erykah Badu sung about it. Why don't y'all see that? The things that you think has value, because you see little Sarah on the block with it, ain't gonna matter in 6 months. Only to the person that sold it, because you done made them some money. Who would have thought? Give me a second, family. Give me a second. Hold on just a second. Give me about 3 minutes. I gotta fix the trash. Appreciate your patience. It is pretty nasty here, but that's okay. That's all right because you're here. So, there's a lot of okey doke stuff going on because a lot of y'all don't understand that some things are done just to see the reaction and if the perception will stick. You understand what I'm trying to say? There are people that deliberately do things just to sensationalize, to be extreme, to get a rise out of you, just to make you feel a certain way. Why is it that when you see so much negative influence put out there, you don't never see nobody do anything positive? Prime example. You got plenty of examples of people being successful, right? But you don't see no investment of, okay, well, are you doing it because it's genuine? Or are you doing it for a photo op? For example, we got all these people, and this is not shade. I just want you to think about it. You always hear people say, well, I care about where I live and I contribute. And there are a small percentage of people that genuinely do. But then there's a lot of people that do it for this. It's a tax write-off. So you're not really doing it the betterment. You're doing it so you can get over. I'd say this because a lot of people don't understand. Do you realize that there are a demographic of people that will not invest in you because you won't invest in yourself? And have the nerve to feel a certain kind of way if you call them out on it. Like, for example, you got countless people that use platforms and they're very good at what they do, but they won't. It's like, well, I gotta have my own microcosm, even though I see you doing stuff over here in support. We spend more time tearing each other down. Why? Because there's an underlying insecurity that makes you do it. Also, we live in a society that gravitates off of being the worst. But we don't realize or take into consent that there are other people on this planet that also use that as an educational tool to continue the behavior that is being going on. They use it as, see, that's why I don't want you over there. That's why my position is, this world is very narcissistic, family. But you don't hear people talking about what matters most. And what's sad about it is the fact that it will take, like, for example, millennials. I've always echoed this. If you are under the age of 21, first of all, if you're under the age of 35, you ain't grown. You're not grown. You're not. Because the wisdom that you should have when you're 35 will surpass the mindset that you have when you're 25. The decisions that you're making at 25 should not emulate the choices that you make at 18. Maybe you will see the correlation of the friends that you choose to gravitate are not the friends that you have now. And if you still have these people as your friends, how's their life doing? What does their life represent? Is it the best that it can be? Because then, yes, you use that as a sounding board, but it should validate what you stand for. Who am I talking to? But see, when we talk about ourselves, when we talk about truth, when we talk about what should matter, why is it the things that should not, the things that should matter never get promoted and never gets invested in? Because sensationalism equals revenue. We rather watch someone take their last breath on here than give a helping hand out there. We got our priorities backwards. But guess what? That's not God. That ain't God. God ain't in that. Let's talk about mental health. We got plenty of time to talk about Percocets. We got plenty of time to talk about Molly's. We got plenty of time to talk about turning up. But we don't talk about the effects when they get turned out. And when they get turned out, who do they turn to? That's when the family should rally around. That's when someone should say, hey, I give a damn about you. But unfortunately, if you don't give a damn about you, you cannot change your situation. And what's sad, it's already been stated, those who are in abusive relationships, dynamics, the person that is the abuser was once abused, but chose to sustain the mindset instead of addressing it and correcting it. That is why emotional scars take a long time to heal. And you see it all the time, because those are the ones walking around bitter. Those are the ones that talk about, those are the ones that are walking around toxic. Those are the ones that want to play the victim card instead of the victor. But nobody's taking an account to see tomorrow. You're not promised to wake up, but you are given the opportunity to make this day the best day you can. How about learn something new? How about learn something new about yourself? But we ain't talking about that. We want to swing off of Ouija boards and play with the occult. Don't you understand? The closer you get to the occult, you're opening up a spiritual door for that demonic influence to possess you. What do you think depression is? That is sustained torment by demonic influence. You know what I'm talking about. There's somebody you know right now that you can't spend 5 seconds with them because you feel a certain kind of way when they come around. It's like they suck the life out of you, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're pulling off your spiritual essence. And what's sad about it is, until you acknowledge what is going on, you have no choice but to sustain it. So let's shift it a little bit. Queen, you know you deserve better, right? Why are you settling? Why are you with your captor? because he's paying your bills in exchange for your expression. And God forbid you speak your truth, because it may end up by the hand of your oppressor. Nobody can make you stay there but you. But let's not get this twisted, because there are plenty of men that are walking around that are abused. There are plenty of men that came from abusive childhoods. And the illustration that was shown, they think that's what manhood is about. I got to lay my pimp hand down. I got to strong arm you. I got to make you do what you don't want to do. First of all, why do you want anybody in the confounds of you that is not willing to stand there? Oh, well, Gerald, he makes sure that whatever my needs are, but shouldn't being happy be number one? Number two should be you feel emotionally safe. Why do you think people choose to step out of their relationships? Let's talk about it. Most of the time, people choose to step out of their relationships is because they don't feel safe. There is something lacking. But usually the case is, it's not them, it's you. So you're basically trying to take on the identity of the environment. Oh yeah, who am I talking to? You hear about stories of women being strategic, ransoming their bodies for financial gain. But how's that working with your mind? Because sooner or later, time has a way of showing truth. How about gravity? Those are going to fall. That butt is going to fall. That weight is going to come. But what about this? If you're living in the shadows of regret, of denial, of distraction, you are allowing yourself to be consumed. We know that is Stockholm Syndrome, ladies and gentlemen. Haven't you noticed when you look out there on the boob tube or the gossip's water cooler or whatever, you always see that Barbie doll. They all look the same. But one thing that you don't see is they don't have a voice. They're just a shell. And through the economic illustration of what that identity is, it is withered down the social echelon. You see it even in the projects. She's got a body like an hourglass, but a brain like a hole in a bucket. She says what she don't need, but she won't do anything to change it. She's quick to point the fingers of what they did, but not taking consideration the forward pointing back of what you allowed. Because see, no one can make you do what you don't want to do. Shouldn't one of them be love me? Because if you don't love you, how can you protect you? Maybe that is the reason why you see so much aggressive overkill and bad behavior going on by way of experimentation, because they don't have a foundation. You ever thought about that? The one thing I've come to learn, family, the best you is yet to come, but cannot come until you decide to reveal it. And sometimes that process takes time. Maybe this is the moment that you are going to be alone. Maybe this is the time that you're going to finally go what's inside your mind. Because we only use 6% of our brain. That's why you hear people say endless possibilities. Yes, because that is the source of manifestation if you claim it. But as long as you don't rock the boat, turn a blind eye, accept bad behavior, accept failures, your reality will be bleak. I don't believe that. I refuse to accept that. Because every individual, as long as you're able to take in air in your lungs, you have an opportunity to be. How about be still? If you're turning around, holding on grudges, you basically bring one step closer for that to be your demise. That's why God said, judge and be judged. And that's why parents know this. Maybe this is the moment that you start to see the trials and tribulations of your actions manifested through your children's hand. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. How is it in 2017 we have generations of family members incarcerated? You see it on TV. They're making money off of your disappointment. Why? Because they know that we condone it. I remember there was a time where it was about uplifting our family. And I can kind of understand why we are in the plight that we are. Because, yes, queens, good men are hard to find. But spiritual ones, we exist. But you can't see us until you see you. And let me explain this to somebody. Because somebody has the mentality, they say, well, you know what? As long as I use the playbook of what I see those doing on Instagram, I'll find my Mr. Right. And you're quite right. You will find Mr. Right. But he'll be Mr. Right now. He won't be your forever. He won't. He will be there long enough for the illusion to take effect so that your nightmare can begin and for you to learn to know the wisdom of what not to do. That's not your story. King, listen up. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I know society wants you to say, well, you know what? They get down overseas and he got a harem. It takes a whole day just to be you. Now imagine trying to divide your time with the multitude. Some things are going to fall through the cracks. Someone might pick up your light work. You don't want that. You're not built for that. You wasn't raised that way. And remember this, kings. You were chosen spiritually to be a boy. Because as you evolve to be a man, Not only will you be listening to the click-clack between your legs, but you will come to understand the weight of your name on your back. It's about legacy, man. Only fools measure their mortality by what they can have in their hand. Your greatest assets are priceless. It's your wisdom. It's your example. It's just you. And until we decide to change the paradigm, we're going to be divided. And guess what? You know, we want to call them haters. They laughing all the way to the bank. How can you sit up here and call women out of their name when you can't honor yours? But yet you fuel their position of there ain't no good men. There's no good men because daddy ain't where he needs to be. Maybe you weren't meant, maybe divinely you weren't supposed to be, you weren't in your child's life in the beginning, but God was preparing you so you could be there when it's required. That's your legacy. Yeah, the ones that walk around looking like you, talking like you, acting like you, they are you. And those that you take on the responsibility that may not have come from your loins, you are preparing them to take on the responsibility. Because one day they may have a family too. I'm just saying. But yeah, we want to worry about real men don't wear their wealth, they invest it. And their greatest wealth is their children. And check this out. You mad at your child's mom? That doesn't negate the fact that you still got kids. Because as long as you stay stubborn, you're setting that child up for more pain. God forbid somebody come in, God forbid. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Like the words of Diana Ross's classic tune, Mahogany. Do you know? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? You'll know that once you finally make a decision to place God first in everything you do, because he makes a way when there is none. It's about preparation. Because if you don't prepare, not only are you allowing things that you don't want, but you're not ready to combat it when it faces it right back. Be blessed, family. I hope you guys have a safe and blessed weekend. Maybe this is the moment that you'll have that conversation with that loved one. Maybe this is the time that you'll finally let that burden go. Maybe this is the first time, maybe this is the moment that you'll actually be still and allow those tears to flow. Let out that pain. How about ask God to make your life new? Because he will. If you ask him, he created you. It's not his responsibility to rescue you. It's your responsibility to be the exception to the rule. You're worth it, family. You're worth it. Because I'm going to tell you what, all those people that have deceived you, have hurt you, have wounded you, have lied to you, as long as you choose not to love you, you basically said it was in vain. We know the devil's a liar. Claim your life back. Peace.